Hi everyone, Father Lamb here, and it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday, February 28th. And I just want to mention before I give a little reflection here to, go on the internet, on our webpage, Facebook, or we have some hard copies at church, the Catholic Leadership Institute, to do that a little survey. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes. Just jump in there, get her done. I'd be very grateful. Really give us some information we need to kind of help us as we go forward as two parishes. So I just thought maybe I'd reflect a little bit on today's gospel, which comes to us from Matthew. And the mother of Zebedee's sons, which would be James and John, comes up to Jesus and asks him something very special. So here we go. This is Matthew's Gospel, chapter 20. Then the mother of the sons of Zebedee approached Jesus with her sons and did him homage, wishing to ask him for something. He said to her, "What do you wish?" She answered him, "Command that these two sons of mine sit, one at your right and the other at your left, in your kingdom." Jesus said in reply, "You do not know what you are asking. Can you drink the chalice that I am going to drink?" They said to him, "We can." And he replied, "My chalice you will indeed drink, but to sit at my right and my left, this is not mine to give, but is for those for whom it has been prepared by my Father." When the 10 heard this, they became indignant at the two brothers. But Jesus summoned them, and he said, "You know that the rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and the great ones make their authority over them felt. But it shall not be so among you. Rather, whoever wishes to be great among you shall be your servant. Whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Just so, the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many." The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. It's almost funny when you think about it, like Mama's boys here. You got this Mama coming on behalf of James and John and saying, "Jesus, let my boys sit one at your right and one at your left." Here's Mom trying to take care of her boys. And of course, Jesus says, "Can you drink the chalice I'm going to drink?" And they say, "We can." They have no idea what they're saying. Can you drink the chalice? Basically, the chalice of suffering and death. Now, in the end, they do. In the end, they do follow Christ to the end. But then as he goes on, he's telling all his disciples, if you want to be great, you got to be the servant. You want to be number one, be the slave. We've come here not to be served, but to serve. And God's calling us to be the last, to give ourselves the smallest spot, to be really humble, Humility is really not understood in our culture or valued. To be humble doesn't mean to beat yourself up or to have a bad opinion of yourself. Humility, as Augustine said, is truth, Humility is really from the Latin humus, which means dirt or earth. Someone who's humble is down to earth. They're real. And that's the kind of people we all like, don't we? People who are real. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's thinking of yourself less. It's getting your own ego out of the center and looking after other people. And that's a beautiful thing to do during Lent. If that's all we did during Lent, we'd have a wonderful Lent. How can I get my ego out of the situation and be helpful to other people? Put my own needs aside for a moment and go help somebody else. And that action in itself is really therapeutic. The other thing that's in here underneath the surface is really the cross. Jesus says, "Can you drink the chalice?" And they're like, "Yes." But they have no idea what they're saying, because Jesus is going to pick up his cross, he's going to walk, and he's going to be killed. And each one of us is called to pick up our own crosses. So maybe today's also a day, as we think about humility, is to think about, how do I really feel about my cross? A lot of times in our spiritual lives, we don't want to pick up our cross. We want to kick it, lock it in the closet, curse at it, drag it, but to really pick it up. And is there a cross in your life? Is there a cross in my life that we're having a hard time accepting? Sickness, or loved ones are dying, or just different things going on in your life. Everybody has these crosses we're bearing. And what it means is we need to run out there and try to find a cross. The cross surfaces when you and I make a decision to follow Jesus Christ completely. When you and I are finally all in, I want to follow Christ before anything else in my life, and we put him first, the cross will follow. Because to be loyal to him, we're going to have to go through some things that are difficult. So if you have a difficult cross now that you're dealing with, I'll just pass on to you something a spiritual director told me when I was on a retreat, when I was struggling with a cross. He said, go into your room and sit down and have an empty chair there and imagine Jesus in the empty chair. And here's what he said. Imagine Jesus lovingly, and he emphasized the word lovingly offering you this cross and asking you to pick it up. As I sat with that for a while, that cross that I was fighting and I was angry at and I didn't want in my life, as I meditated on those words of him lovingly handing it to me and asking me to take it out of love for him, things started to change and I was able to accept it more easily. It's not easy to accept the cross. When you and I are struggling to accept the cross, we are in the Garden of Gethsemane with Jesus. And what did he say? On the human level, Father, take this cross from me. Take this cup from me. Same thing, right? Take this cup from me, meaning take this cross of suffering and dying from me. Because he was human and he didn't want to suffer and die. But then he said, your will, not mine, be done. And when he saw that it was his Father's will that he would suffer, he then was all in, and there he went down the road to Calvary. And that's our journey. And it's not a popular message. And who really wants to hear it? But it is the Christian message. So as we struggle during this Lenten time, let's ask God to just give us that humility we need to accept our crosses, pick them up, and do it out of love for Jesus. Because through the cross is how we grow closest to Jesus. There's something in the cross that brings us closer to Jesus than anything else in this world. So maybe today we just might ask God for that grace. Lord, help me to accept that cross I'm struggling with. Give me the grace to pick it up one day at a time. God bless you.